My next guest is one of the most prolific music supervisors in the game today, doing some of the coolest TV shows in the land, like the groundbreaking Dexter that I was addicted to, the Fox network show House, and another show I was addicted to, the must-watch 6 Feet Under. But most recently, True Blood, which just concluded its final blood-sucking season. Not only that, Gary Calamar has been a radio icon in LA at KCRW for a number of years, and the newest thing, he's launching a record career. Yes, that's right. A true Renaissance man will have an EP out on Atlantic Records. So, ladies and gentlemen, Gary Calamar. Thanks for coming out, buddy.
My pleasure. It's good to be back.
So lots going on in your land, huh?
Yes, yes. Well, yeah, we just finished True Blood, sadly. The final episode just aired.
How many seasons that run?
7 seasons, 7 glorious seasons. Not only was it a great show, but a nice 7-year paycheck, which is always
good.
Good.
You got kids?
Music
and they like to go to concerts. They need money.
Exactly.
Sure.
So you know, sad to see that go, but we move on to...
So let's talk about True Blood. So the show really hit a nerve, much like Breaking Bad and others have hit this nerve. What do you think is the reason for that? Like, why did it capture the public attention so much?
I think when it first came out, you know, vampires were pretty hot. You know, it seems like, you know, we've moved on to other creatures at this point, but at the time, 7 years ago, vampires were very hot. It had a very appealing cast. You know, Alan Ball was well known for his work on American Beauty and 6 Feet Under, so people were curious. And it's just a fun show. It doesn't take itself too seriously. There's a good amount of beautiful people, some nice nudity, some nice sex scenes.
We like that, yeah.
Some fabulous music, and I think it was just a fun show.
So let's talk about the music for a second. So the path of Alan Ball and you guys have worked together before. Did he originally, from Jump Street, know what kind of vibe he wanted and you guys helped shape it? What was the conversations
It's kind of an interesting story. When I first started on the show, you know, it was in its very early stages. Alan Ball had the theme song at that point, Bad Things by Jace Everett, although my first job on the show was to replace that song. That song was meant to be a placeholder. Alan Ball told me the story that when he's writing, you know, he'll write on his computer for a couple hours, then he'll take an iTunes break, and, you know, $100 later, he'll come back to writing. And at that time, Bad Things by Jace Everett was like a free download. So he just found it that way. And again, my job was to find the song. That was, you know, that was good, but it wasn't the one. But as we moved closer, you know, to airing the show, and we tried to find other things, and we fell in love with Bad Things, it was irreplaceable.
Never got it. And that's Temp Love.
It was Temp Love, but deserved Temp Love. A lot of Temp Love is not deserved.
Right.
But this, and it really worked as a template for me, because it just had a nice mixture of, you know, menace and sexiness and humor, and, you know, just really worked on all those levels. And again, I think for me that kind of led me to the music that we eventually used in the 7 seasons.
And so the swamp feel set in Louisiana, you used a little bit my boy CeCe Adcock, who I'm just working with on a project. So tell me about how CeCe got involved and what was how you guys worked.
CeCe, I just saw him. He was just in town last week. He is a great musician, very well connected in New Orleans and Louisiana, and a great hustler as well.
He can
work his way into anything. And he called me early on. You know, he introduced himself. He said that he knows the Louisiana music scene. He played me some music. We got together. We hung out. He actually was very interested in the time of acting on the show. You know, there's no boundaries for CeCe
he goes hard, that guy.
Yes.
Did he ever get on? He got on the show, didn't he?
His band, he came on as a musician.
Right, that's what I thought.
In season 1, there was a party at Merlotte's, and his band played, and we flew them all in. So yeah, he just kind of worked his way into my life and was very helpful. And again, he's a really talented guy. And his song actually opens up the first episode, you know, where we kick off the series. And actually, we have a song of his in the final episode.
That's great. So he bookended it?
Exactly.
So Ball was a fan, obviously.
Ball was a fan.
That's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the last season. What was your favorite piece of music that you worked on?
You know, a lot of the highlights musically are in the end credits of the show. So a couple of the things, well, last night's episode was kind of a major Led Zeppelin's "Thank You."
Wow.
Closed the.
How did that? How was that? How did that take?
That didn't take all that long. We had kind of set it up. You know, Led Zeppelin has some specific rules about licensing their music. I don't know if you've licensed any of their music. Their rules are, if you request their song and they approve, you have to use it. It's not like you can request it and then sort of decide after. If they approve at the price that, it's not cheap, of course, but if they approve, you must use it and you must pay within 7 days.
Wow.
Yes.
And who is their approval parties?
Their approval party is mostly Warner Chappell.
Okay, so
that
goes through there.
Warner Brothers as well, but we
Right.
just did the whole deal through Warner Chappell
Right.
and their management. But we actually used them last season as well, so we knew the drill.
Right.
And we had some other songs in mind for the finale, but Led Zeppelin's "Thank You" just said it all, and it was a great way to close the series. A couple other highlights for me is we used one of my favorite bands from LA, Warpaint, "Love Is to Die,"
Sure.
a week or two ago. We used Moby, who collaborated with Damien Jurado for a song a couple of weeks ago. So we had some nice things in the end credits.
Aren't you working with Damien Jurado on another?
Yeah, as a matter of
What's
fact,
the
I
other-
am. We're working on a movie called Tumbledown. It's about a singer-songwriter, not terribly unlike a Jeff Buckley or an Elliott Smith, who
Right.
passes away young and somewhat mysteriously. It stars Jason Sudeikis and Rebecca Hall. Very cool little indie movie that we're working on as we speak. And we brought in Damien Jurado to write the songs for this songwriter, that character that has passed away.
And what about, you have another show coming up called Intruders, right? Tell us
We have
about
another
that
show actually just premiered this last weekend on Saturday on BBC America, right after Doctor Who, so it had a nice
Doctor
little
Who.
lead-in. Intruders, yeah, very cool, from Glenn Morgan, who did X-Files, and stars Mira Sorvino and John Sims, who is also from Doctor Who. Yeah, very sort of supernatural kind of show about people that intrude on other people's bodies.
Wow. And so
Yes.
is that all music written for the or what kind of stuff are you using on that one?
On Intruders, well, there's a lot of flashbacks. We actually use a lot of music from the legendary Bix Beiderbecke,
30s.
for who's
30s,
big in
wow.
the 20s and 30s.
Going way back, old school.
A cornet player. And he's actually a character in the show, so we use many of his songs throughout, but it's interspersed with some more modern stuff as
Right.
well.
So you mix it up in your life. I first got to know you by hearing you on the radio. You had a show called Open Road on KCRW, which I always try to listen to on Sunday nights. And
That's
so,
my favorite job, by the way.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I DJ'd in college, and this is basically my DJing now. I just love
Right.
the interaction of
The
media.
beautiful part for me about the DJing is I don't have producers and directors giving me notes and telling me what to do. I get to play what I
Right.
want, and to be on KCRW is just a dream.
So
It's a great
KCRW,
station.
for everybody who doesn't know, is a great public radio station based out of Santa Monica College, which is blocks from my home.
Nice.
And you're allowed to play what you want, right?
Yep.
And so
Yep.
this is a very rare thing in the world of commercial, which is a non-commercial station, but in radio in particular, it's almost impossible to find. So talk about how you got in there, and also how that helps you be a better music supervisor.
Yeah, that is our credo. Is the DJs get picked very carefully, but after they're picked, they can play what they want and kind of run with their vision. It was interesting how I got the job. Actually, I had volunteered there. I was kind of between jobs. I had worked in record stores and managed bands. And I had volunteered there at KCRW in the music library, just kind of helping out and inputting information into the computer. And Chris Doritas was running the show at that point. He was the music director and the host of Morning Becomes Eclectic. And at one point, we had become friends, and I think he kind of knew that I, was a music fan and knew what I was doing to
Words
some degree.
junkie, not fan.
Yes. And at one point he said, we need a overnight, Saturday night, Sunday morning overnight person.
How many years are we going back now?
We're going back a good, maybe like 10 years or so. I'm not great with
It all kind
chronology.
of blends together after a while.
Yes, people can look it up. But,
Yeah, exactly.
And at that, he said that to me, and it was like, this is what I had been waiting to hear, all my life pretty much. So when he said that, I got off my chair, I got on my knees, literally. I said, Chris, please let me have that show. Give me a chance. And I think he was so embarrassed or whatever that he said, "Oh, okay," and that's where I started. I started overnight on Saturday night from 1 to 6 a.m. And at one point they said, "We've got some good news. We're going to make you 12 to 3 instead of 1 to 6." And I said, "What do you mean good news? I lose, 2 hours."
You cut me out of 3 hours. What are you talking about?
So
who needs to sleep when I could be on the radio?
Exactly. So that was my philosophy back then, and I love it. I've been.
Yeah, it's great. You play great music, and it's just a fantastic station to keep up on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's bred a lot of great music supervisors.
Yeah. So as you
have to be uber fans
I'm
of the music to do what we do.
Yeah. So I'm always listening for new music for the radio show, and it's all just ties together with my music supervision gig and everything else I'm doing. It's just goes into one big pot, and I might say, oh well, let me put this aside for True Blood, or let me put this aside for Intruders, or I definitely want to play this on the radio this Sunday. And
so I want to take you back to when you're working on 6 Feet Under.
Okay.
It was one of my favorite shows. I was addicted. I watched every episode.
It was a good one.
Yeah, it was HBO's. Had to watch. You had to be there and watch it. And so obviously the end of that series came around, and talk about that story, about that placement, because for me it's one of the biggest placements ever for you, or at least in my mind. I'm sure for you it has a resonance to it.
I am making arrangements to have that play on my tombstone.
Right.
When I die.
That's big then.
People will walk by and it will trigger something.
Right.
We're still working out the details.
Talk about the Sia song.
The Sia song, well, it was a song I had been playing on the radio. So to your previous question, it does all tie in.
Artist, right?
It was well, she was on. It wasn't released. I had kind of known her work, Sia Furler. She was a vocalist with the band 07 on a few tracks, so I kind of was aware of her that way. And I had received her solo album, which had not yet been released in America. It was released just in England. And there was a song, Breathe Me, which I loved and played on the radio probably for a year before we used it on True Blood. And when Alan Ball came to me, I had a partner at the time, Mr. Thomas Golubich, so he came to us and said, we're looking for a song for this final scene, and he kind of loosely described what the scene was going to be. And I pitched that song to him, and along with a handful of others, and that's the one that stood out. And we actually used that song in the beginning of the final season in a promo as well, so we kind of brought it back for that final scene. And it worked beautifully, along with our editor, who put it together beautifully and probably extended the song to twice its length. And it was just a beautiful scene that
unbelievable
Alan
use
had
of
written
music
and put together.
6 minute doubling use of music.
Yes, exactly.
And I read that she had just gotten dropped before the use.
Yeah, well, like I said, they were not planning on releasing it here in America. Her career, at least with that label, was ending, and now
she's a massive star, and she did. I don't know if you saw the newest commercial for the movie. I forget the name of the movie, but she has a song with Eminem that is featured in the movie and in the trailer, and even like a big marquee Eminem featuring Sia. But last point on this, tell the story about what happened when you walked in to see her for the first time. This is her quoting.
Yeah, okay, yes. So she had done a kind of a show at the Hotel Cafe right around that time.
In Los Angeles, a great independent singer-songwriter.
Absolutely, a small place that I'm sure would fill up very quickly now for a Sia show. But the song had just come out, the series had ended, and everybody was talking about Breathe Me. And Thomas Golubich and I were at the show, and she said, I'm going to do Breathe Me now, and I understand Gary and Thomas are in the audience right now, so I want to thank them. He goes, I really have to give those guys a blowjob for this.
I love that story. That is
It's
classic.
so funny because her music is so serious and so emotional, but on stage and in person, she's just like a wacky,
but the reality
funny gal.
The reality is that one song can help relaunch a career.
The funny thing is, after that, I said, Sia, you had mentioned something about a blowjob, and she, as if she didn't remember saying that.
Right, of course. All right, well, cool. We're going to set up for something special, because you have the next thing in your life is you are about to make a record and put out a record, and this guy right here, Gary Calamar, is going to perform for us. So
that's right.
Tell us what made you want to go to that next place.
You know, I had always been a songwriter of sorts. You know, I'm not a great musician and I'm not a great singer, but I always loved putting songs together and lyrics and phrases. And throughout my life, I would just, you know, make up songs along the way. And, you know, it was something I always loved to do. And actually on True Blood, I had an opportunity to co-write a song that Iggy Pop ended up singing. So that was extremely exciting for me. And I just decided to take my songwriting a little bit more seriously than I had been, and maybe, you know, do something with it. And I had recorded some demos and actually played them for Kevin Weaver over at Atlantic, our boy Kevin Weaver. Mm-hmm. And he said, you know, we should put this out. And I said, yes, we definitely should put this out.
Wow.
And we're putting it out. It's coming out October 14th.
All right, well, let's set up. Gary Calamar is going to rock the house for you. And
I'm going to try and rock the house.
He's going to try. So we'll set up and we'll do it.
Right on.
Thanks, buddy.
I'm going to do a song called The Last Revolution. Because this fine show, Q-Score, is about music and the music business, I have decided to do this song for you all. The stripped down version. The album is like full on rock and roll, so this is the stripped down version of The Last Revolution. And it goes a little something like this. I don't recall who wrote that song, but it's a time I'll always remember. I heard the snaps and the crackles with my pop, and I swore that I would never join a record club that would have someone like me as a member. I like to let my boot heels wander when I shop. Well, I was born in 45, turned 33 in 78. And I subscribed to Life and Billboard. Now I find myself down in the basement with my turntable near the cassette tapes. Walk up the stairs, turn out the lights, and shut the door. Yeah, so I'm swayed by the public opinion. I accept that it's a foregone conclusion, just an equal opposite reaction. I am waiting for the last revolution. Now I'm an addict who can't find a needle. I'm the man with the golden arm. They'll say we walk that dinosaur to extinction. That's how it went. But I need something to grab onto, not a jewel case without any charm. The fall leads into the winter of my compact discontent. I had the blues when I sold my jazz and the soundtracks I'd heard all my life. I would have cried if I had no self-control. Then they gave me 10 cents for my $1 billion babies and flipped through my R&B. I know what it feels like to be selling my soul. Yeah, so I'm swayed by the public opinion. I accept that it's a foregone conclusion, just an equal opposite reaction. I am waiting for the last revolution. I am waiting for the last revolution. I am waiting for the last. Thank you.